The notary called me on a Thursday afternoon while I was replacing the spark plugs on my truck. "Mr. Dalton," she said, her voice uncertain, "I have some documents here that need your verification." "Documents for what?" "A property transfer. Your lake house in McCall. You're signing it over to a Daniel Hartley." I set down my wrench. "I'm doing what?" There was a pause. "You didn't authorize this?" "No, I most certainly did not." "Mr. Dalton, I need you to come to my office immediately. We may have a problem." I drove to her office in town, a small place above the hardware store on Main Street. Nancy Porter had been a notary in McCall, Idaho for 30 years. She knew everyone. She didn't make mistakes. When I walked in, she had the documents spread across her desk. I sat down, and she pushed them toward me. "These came in yesterday," she said. "Daniel Hartley brought them. Said you'd signed them at home, that you were transferring the lake property to him as a gift. He had your ID, a copy anyway. Everything looked legitimate. But something felt off, so I told him I needed to verify with you directly before I could notarize." I picked up the document. It was a quitclaim deed. My lake house, the one I'd owned for 42 years, the one my wife and I had bought when our kids were small, being transferred to Daniel Hartley for $0. At the bottom was a signature. My signature. Except it wasn't. It was close. Very close. But the capital D in Dalton had a loop I never made. And the line under my name, I always did that. This one was missing. "That's not my signature," I said. Nancy nodded. "I didn't think so. I've notarized your documents for 20 years. I know your signature. That's why I called. What do you want me to do?" "Call the police," I said. "And call my lawyer. My name is Thomas Dalton. I'm 74 years old. I worked as a machinist for 46 years at a manufacturing plant in Boise, retired in 2015 with a pension and my health intact. My wife Ellen died 3 years ago from a stroke. It happened fast. One minute she was gardening, the next she was on the ground, gone before the ambulance arrived. Since then, I've lived alone in our house in McCall, a small mountain town in central Idaho, population 8,000, the kind of place where everyone knows your name and your business. I have 2 kids. My daughter Rebecca lives in Boise with her husband and 2 teenagers. Good kids. They visit once a month, call me every Sunday. My son David died in a car accident in 2008. He was 32. Drunk driver ran a red light. David left behind a wife, Sarah, and a son, Daniel. Sarah remarried 2 years later, moved to Seattle with her new husband. Daniel stayed in Idaho. He was 11 when his dad died. I stepped in, tried to be the father figure he'd lost, helped him with homework, taught him to fish, paid for his college when Sarah said she couldn't afford it. $23,000 over 4 years at Boise State. He graduated with a business degree, got into real estate. Or so he said. The lake house was my pride. 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, sitting on 2 acres of waterfront property. Ellen and I bought it in 1983 for $85,000. It was a fixer-upper. Roof leaked, deck was rotted. Plumbing was a disaster. But it had a view of the lake that took your breath away. We spent 10 years fixing it up. I rebuilt the deck myself. Ellen painted every room. We put in new windows, new appliances, turned it from a dump into a home. Our kids grew up there. Every summer from May to September, we'd pack up and move to the lake. David learned to swim off that dock. Rebecca caught her first fish there when she was 6. And when Ellen got sick, when the doctors said there was nothing more they could do, she made me promise I'd scatter her ashes there. I did. Took the boat out at sunrise, just me, and let her go. Today that house is worth close to $900,000. Maybe more. Waterfront property in Idaho has exploded. People from California, Seattle, Portland, buying up everything they can find. I've had 3 offers in the past year alone. Turned them all down. That house isn't for sale. It's for Rebecca and Daniel. When I die, they split it 50-50. That's what my will says. That's what Ellen wanted. Apparently, Daniel didn't want to wait. Nancy called Chief Morrison. He arrived 20 minutes later, a big guy in his 50s who'd been with the McCall PD for 30 years. "Tom," he said, shaking my hand. "Nancy says we've got a situation." I handed him the quitclaim deed. My nephew tried to steal my house. Morrison read it. His jaw tightened. "This is your signature?" "No, it's forged." "You're sure?" "I've been signing my name for 74 years. I know what it looks like." Morrison pulled out his phone. "Where's Daniel now?" "Last I heard he was in Boise, working for some real estate company." "What's it called?" "I don't know. He doesn't talk to me much. Just when he needs money." Morrison made a call, talked to someone at the county recorder's office, hung up. Good news is this deed was never filed. Nancy caught it before it went through. If it had been recorded, you'd be in a much worse position. What happens now? I file a report. We investigate. If we determine the signature's forged, which I'm betting we will, we charge Daniel with forgery and attempted theft. Both felonies? How long does that take? Couple weeks for the handwriting analysis. Once we have that, we bring him in. He'll have a choice. Confess and take a plea, or fight it and go to trial. What do you think he'll do? Morrison looked at me. Depends on how smart he is. I called my lawyer, Jim Bradshaw. Jim had been my attorney for 20 years, handled Ellen's estate, helped me set up my will, dealt with property taxes and legal headaches. He was semi-retired now, spent most of his time fishing, but he still took my calls. "Tom, what's going on?" My nephew forged my signature on a quitclaim deed, tried to steal my lake house. There was a long silence. "Daniel did this?" "Yeah." "You're certain the signature's forged?" "Positive." Nancy Porter caught it. "Police are involved. I'm looking at the documents right now." "Jesus Christ," Jim said. "Okay. Don't sign anything. Don't talk to Daniel if he contacts you. Don't talk to anyone except me and the police. I'm driving up there." "When?" "Tonight. I'll be there by 7. We need to get ahead of this." Jim arrived at my house just after 7. I'd made coffee. We sat at my kitchen table, the same table Ellen and I had eaten dinner at for 30 years, and he went through everything. The quitclaim deed, the forged signature, Nancy's statement, Morrison's report. When he finished, he looked at me. "Tom, this is bad. If Daniel submitted forged documents to a notary with intent to transfer property, that's forgery in the first degree. Class C felony in Idaho. He's looking at up to 5 years in prison." "Good," I said. "Jim, he's your nephew. He's David's son. I know exactly who he is, and I know what he tried to do. He tried to steal the house Ellen and I built, the house where David grew up, where we scattered Ellen's ashes. I don't care that he's blood. He's a thief." Jim nodded slowly. "All right. Here's what happens next. The police will get a handwriting expert to analyze the signature. Compare it to known samples of your writing. If it's determined to be forged, they'll charge him. He'll be arrested, arraigned, given the option to plead guilty or go to trial. If he pleads guilty, he might get a deal. Probation, restitution, community service. If he fights it and loses, he does time. What do you want to do? I want to make sure he never gets a dime of my property. Ever. We can do that. We'll amend your will. Add a clause specifically disinheriting him. and will make it clear that any attempt to contest the will results in complete forfeiture. He tries to fight it. He gets nothing. Do it. The next few days were strange. I tried to keep busy, worked on the truck, fixed a leaky faucet, cleaned out the garage. But my mind kept going back to Daniel. I thought about the last time I'd seen him. It was maybe 4 months ago. November. He'd driven up to McCall, said he wanted to check on me, make sure I was doing okay living alone. We'd had dinner at the lake house. Burgers on the grill, even though it was cold. He'd asked a lot of questions. How was I managing the property? Was the upkeep getting to be too much? Had I thought about selling? I told him no, I'd never sell. That the house was going to him and Rebecca when I died. He'd smiled. Said that was really generous. Said he'd take good care of it when the time came. I thought he was being thoughtful, looking out for me. Turns out he was casing the place. Morrison called on Monday. Tom, we got the handwriting analysis back. And it's not your signature. Expert says it's a forgery. Whoever did it tried to match your style, but there are multiple inconsistencies. The pressure points are wrong. The letter formations don't match. It's definitely not you. So what now? Now I bring Daniel in for questioning. I've got a warrant. We're picking him up tomorrow morning. I didn't sleep that night. Kept thinking about David, about the way he used to look at Daniel when he was a baby. So much pride, so much hope. David had been a good dad in the 2 years he had. Coached Daniel's t-ball team, taught him to ride a bike, read him stories every night. And then he was gone. And I'd tried to fill that hole, tried to be what Daniel needed. And this was how it ended. Morrison called the next afternoon. We brought Daniel in. He's here now. Lawyered up immediately. Public defender. Won't talk without his attorney present. That was fast. Yeah. He knew this was coming. We're questioning him in an hour. I'll call you after. 3 hours later, my phone rang. Tom, it's Morrison. We just finished with Daniel. What did he say? He confessed. What? We showed him the documents, asked if he'd brought them to Nancy Porter. He said yes. Asked if that was your signature. He said he thought it was. We told him the handwriting expert determined it was forged. Told him forgery is a 5-year felony. That's when he broke. Started crying. Said he didn't mean for it to go this far. What does that mean? He said he's in financial trouble. His real estate business failed. He's got $60,000 in debt. Credit cards, personal loans, medical bills. He thought if he could get the lake house transferred into his name, he could take out a loan against it. Use the equity to pay off his debts. He admitted he forged your signature. I sat down. He actually admitted it? Signed a written confession. We've got him on video. His lawyer tried to stop him, but Daniel just kept talking. Said he was desperate. Said he knew it was wrong, but he didn't know what else to do. What happens now? We're charging him with forgery in the 1st degree and attempted theft by deception. He'll be arraigned Thursday. If he pleads guilty, the prosecutor might offer a deal. If not, it goes to trial. And the house. The deed was never notarized. It's void. The property's still yours. I called Rebecca that night. Dad, she said, I heard. Daniel called me. He's devastated. He should be. Dad, he made a mistake. He committed a felony. He's family. He's a criminal. There's a difference. She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, What do you want me to say? That I should forgive him? That I should drop the charges? I'm not dropping anything. He tried to steal from me. He forged my signature. He lied. And he did it all while pretending to care about me. Dad, he's struggling. So he thought he'd rob me? That's not struggling. That's theft. She started crying. I know it is. But he's David's son. He's all we have left of David. David wouldn't have done this. David had integrity. David worked for what he got. This kid thinks he's entitled to something just because his last name is Hartley. He's not, and he's going to learn that. The arraignment was Thursday. I didn't go. Jim went on my behalf, called me after. Tom, Daniel pleaded not guilty. What? His lawyer's arguing financial duress. Says Daniel was under extreme stress, made a bad decision, didn't fully understand the legal ramifications. That's garbage. I know. But that's the strategy. They're going to try to make him sympathetic. Young guy, lost his father, struggling to make ends meet, made a desperate choice. What does the prosecutor say? She's not buying it. Says the confession is clear. Says the forgery is obvious. Says this goes to trial, she's confident she'll win. When's the trial? 3 months. June. In the meantime, Daniel's out on his own recognizance. No bail required. Judge didn't see him as a flight risk. What about my property? Jim paused. Tom, I'm going to be straight with you. Even if Daniel gets convicted, even if he goes to prison, there's still a risk. What kind of risk? He could appeal. Could argue he had some claim to the property based on verbal promises. Could try to sue you civilly. I want to make sure that's not possible. We need to amend your will immediately. Add specific language disinheriting him. And we should consider a trust. Put the lake house in a revocable living trust with Rebecca as the sole beneficiary. That way, even if Daniel tries something after you're gone, he's got no legal standing. Do it, all of it. I don't want him to have any chance. Over the next few weeks, I tried to go back to normal. But it was hard. I'd wake up at 3 in the morning thinking about Daniel. About the look on his face when I'd taught him to fish. About the way he'd hugged me at David's funeral and said thank you for being here. About the $23,000 I'd spent on his education. All of it felt like a waste now. Rebecca called every few days, checking in, trying to mediate. Dad, Daniel wants to talk to you. I don't want to talk to him. He wants to apologize. I don't care. Dad, he's going to rehab. For what? Financial counseling, learning to manage debt. He's trying to get help. Good for him. That doesn't change what he did. Dad, please. Rebecca, I love you. But I'm done. He made his choice. He looked me in the eye and lied. He came into my home and planned how to rob me. And then he executed that plan. That's not a mistake. That's betrayal. I'm not forgiving that. Jim filed the amended will in March. I signed it at his office with 2 witnesses present. The language was clear. Daniel Hartley is hereby disinherited and shall receive no portion of this estate. Any attempt to contest this shall result in forfeiture of all benefits. Jim also set up the trust. The lake house was transferred into the Thomas and Ellen Dalton Family Trust with Rebecca as the successor trustee and sole beneficiary. If I died tomorrow, she'd get the house. Daniel would get nothing. The trial was set for June 15th, but in May, Daniel's lawyer reached out to Jim. They want to make a deal. What kind of deal? Daniel pleads guilty to attempted fraud, a lesser charge. He gets probation instead of prison. But he has to pay full restitution for your legal fees, plus punitive damages. And he has to sign a document relinquishing any claim to your estate now or in the future. How much restitution? $15,000 for legal fees, $25,000 in punitive damages, $40,000 total. Can he pay that? His lawyer says he'll set up a payment plan, $200 a month. It'll take him 16 years, but he'll pay it. I thought about it for 2 days. Talked to Rebecca. She begged me to take the deal, said prison would destroy Daniel, said he'd made a mistake and deserved a second chance. I wasn't sure he deserved anything. But I also wasn't sure I wanted to sit through a trial. Wasn't sure I wanted to relive all of this in front of a jury. And I knew that even if he went to prison, he'd get out eventually. This way, he'd be paying me for the next 16 years. Every month a reminder of what he'd done. Tell them I'll take the deal, I told Jim. But I want it in writing, notarized, filed with the court. And I want a clause that says if he misses 3 payments, the whole amount comes due immediately. Done. Daniel pleaded guilty in court on June 8th. I was there, sat in the back row, watched him stand in front of the judge in a cheap suit, hands shaking, and admit what he'd done. The judge asked him if he understood the terms. Yes, Your Honor. Do you understand that you're relinquishing any claim to your uncle's estate? Yes, Your Honor. Do you understand that if you violate the terms of this agreement, you'll be sentenced to prison? Yes, Your Honor. The judge sentenced him to 3 years supervised probation, ordered him to pay $40,000 in restitution at $200 a month, ordered him to complete 200 hours of community service and a financial management course, and she made him sign the relinquishment document right there in court, witnessed by the clerk, filed immediately. After the hearing, I walked out into the hallway. Daniel was standing there with his lawyer. He saw me, looked like he wanted to say something. I stared at him for a long moment. Then I walked past him without a word. That was 4 months ago. Daniel's been making payments, $200 every month like clockwork. I deposit the checks, but I don't cash them right away. I let them sit there as a reminder. Rebecca still talks to him. I don't. She asks me sometimes if I'll ever forgive him. I tell her I don't know. Maybe someday, but not today. The lake house is still mine. I go there every weekend, sit on the dock where Ellen and I used to watch the sunset, work on projects, keep the place up. And I think about legacy, about what we leave behind. Ellen and I built something good, something worth protecting. And I protected it. Not just the property, but the principle. You don't get to steal from family. You don't get to forge signatures and lie and expect forgiveness. Last week I updated my will one more time. Everything goes to Rebecca. The house, the savings, the truck, the tools, everything. And there's a clause at the end that says, if anyone contests this will, they forfeit everything. Jim made it ironclad. Daniel can't touch it, even if he wanted to, even if he tried. I sleep better now than I have in months, because I know what I built is safe. It's going to someone who earned it, someone who waited, someone who didn't try to take it before I was done with it. And Daniel, he learned the hard way that family doesn't give you the right to steal. It gives you the responsibility to earn trust. And once you break that trust, once you forge a signature and try to take what isn't yours, you don't get it back. Not ever. If you've ever had family try to steal from you. If you've ever caught someone forging your name, drop a comment. Tell me what you did. Because at the end of the day, blood doesn't excuse theft. And trust, once broken, doesn't heal. It just leaves a scar.